Oh. You've never experienced any of that, have you?
Yeah, I've never heard that one before.
Have you ever heard of that happening before?
See,
Sure, but not from people I know.
when we bought that place in the country, they had two houses.
Mm-hmm.
A small little log and brick house down below rock. And that house down there belonged to a different family. The place became split. There was a spring near the small house, and closer to the small house than was the big house, and there was a fence dividing it, and there was a gate to this fence to that spring house, which they shared the spring,
right,
for water, and there was a gate there, and there was a feud between the family. But so I don't know whether these people died before or during that time, but there was two basically Boitnott. Am I saying the right name?
Yeah.
Boitnott family owned the properties, two properties.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when all of this occurred, I'm not sure, because the land was a land grant for the whole 300. Well, there was 320 acres that was there when we owned it. And anyway, so Mother and Dad and the family, we lived in this small log house while we were fixing the big house, because there was no electricity in it.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know, it had never been painted inside. But
And not really finished.
But it had been occupied by one of the families.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all Boitnotts, but they were two separate families. What the actual date of these families owning the property, I'm not sure, but all I know is that land grant for it, and the brick that we found in the chimney with a date carved on it, scratched on it, was what did I say, 1738?
I think that's what you said.
Yeah, 1738. And so there was a lot of families involved.
Mm-hmm.
And so who these people were that didn't vacate the place spiritually,
Right.
there was a grave site up on top of the hill where these people were.
Mm-hmm.
But their spirit bodies still remained some in the house. Now, Mother, Dad, that's all. And we were living in that small house, and I was working. I'd taken a job.
Shift work at Viscose.
It's a Viscose Corporation. I was working swing shift.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. Well, anyway.
Well, let me tell you, we're okay.
So
on
I was working.
Thank you for calling.
And I'd come out there and I'd have to sleep at nighttime in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of disturbing the family down in the other house, and it was space up there, I slept in the upstairs. There was a L-shaped back porch. There was top and bottom in the back of the house, L-shaped. And so I slept in that bedroom off of the back porch. Go up the stairs and walk across the porch into the bedroom. And now, there's proof of what I talked about, of the spirits of people still living in the attic of that house or somewhere in that house. Where they really stayed, I don't know in the condition they live in, or I don't know how a spirit lives other than it exists.
Right.
It exists. They bodily exist. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit, because the proof of this is that we had a dog down there, Shadow. Was a product of a Llewellyn setter and a German Shepherd. And looked like a hound dog. It's black and mostly black, some white on him, long ears, and he looked like a hound dog. he would come up on the porch, and when he walked across that porch up there, he would walk over to the railing and down the porch. He would not walk by that doorway. And that's where all these people lived up in there. This is my proof that this existed, because the dog wouldn't even walk by that doorway. Would just walk way over here and back like this. And animals prove a lot of things that we don't know about.
Did you talk to them?
Huh?
Did you talk to the spirits?
Well, I certainly did.
Did you?
They would keep me awake at night, and I wouldn't go to sleep. I'd say, "Go, leave me alone. I've got to get my sleep." I was up there all by myself in that bedroom, and
And you weren't afraid at all?
after a while, no, I wasn't.
Uh-huh.
I was rather appalled and somewhat, you might call it, I don't know whether you have fear, but when I was a young man, I had no fear, Betty.
Well, you'd seen a lot of things as a young man,
Yeah,
as many in your generation did.
yeah. You didn't have a fear of that sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
Well,
when they can talk to you,
after
talk to
after I'd been
somebody.
in the war and over there and seen a lot of death and so forth, I had no fear. I felt sort of invincible, and come right down to it. Come to think of it, yeah. And so here I am going to bed and all by myself in that big house, and okay, you might call it imagination. I don't know. You know, there's a fine line between imagination and the reality of things. Oh gosh. Oh well. Anyway.
This is she.
So I would be about, you know, somewhere around midnight. I was trying to get to sleep, and
Just a moment, Marvin, just a minute. All right, go ahead and continue.
Patrick, I'm so glad that you have an opportunity to be with both of us, and I'll try to remember as much as I can while I.
Yeah. So you said these spirits wouldn't go through the walls, though?
No, they used that stairway. It was a regular closet in that room, upstairs bedroom, and a small stairway that went into the attic with wooden steps made out of 2x6s or something like that. And it went up into that attic.
But they didn't float, but they more or less walked normally.
They used that stairway to come in and out, but they lived in that attic. Now, that was the thing that puzzled me. Spirits don't rest. They're constantly in what you might call state of motion. Maybe that's a punishment. I don't know. I never thought about that part of it. But they don't, as far as I know. Of course, this was all nighttime stuff, because that's when I was there trying to go to sleep at night. And I would get surrounded by this. I'm not talking about 1 or 2 people. I'm talking about maybe many as 5 people.
Wow.
Did they dress according to a certain...
What? I'm sorry.
Did they dress according to a certain style?
It was always nighttime.
You couldn't tell much
I
about
couldn't tell
the
that they
dress.
were dressed at all.
Were you aware
Never
of clothing?
I never thought about that. They seemed to have robes on. Never thought about that.
You didn't see
I never thought about that.
You didn't see a naked body. You just saw a form
no. Forms.
encased in something.
Yeah. But voices. I had a lot of voices. A lot of curiosity too. They all wanted to know why I was there. I was not a member of the family. These all seemed to be family people of one big family. not intermediate family, but one big family of
Mm-hmm.
people. You know, of all ages, really. And good gosh, it's been a long time since I even thought about it. But whatever you might say, it was real to me.
Sure.
And like I say, my proof was the dog.
Mm-hmm.
A dog would not walk by that doorway without walking out here and go around. He would not come in that room.
In other words, there was a certain odor that he
No.
didn't, for a dog.
I would say it was consciousness of it. He was conscious of it, Betty.
Something he didn't
They don't.
understand.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I see.
An animal doesn't necessarily always smell people, or they are aware of people. Let's put it that way. I'm not sure that they always smell people.
Mm-hmm.
Although, you know, that when I use the word smell, I used to think about when I was a child. My mother could walk in the room and I could smell her. I could smell it was such a comfort. and it was, and I've always had a very keen sense of smell.
Mm-hmm.
I smelled animals in the forest and that sort of thing, you know. So I always wondered if I had Indian blood in me or something.
You related to an old hand dog.
Yeah, a hound dog. I was akin to a hound dog, let's put it that way, yeah. A hound dog named Quinn. I have to write a story about that or something with a hound dog named Quinn.
So I think my dad always told me the story of that house burning down, or some house caught on fire, and there was just one room.
Totally burned to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's the point. That house burned. What happened to the spirits that were living in it? They were living in that house.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like my Aunt Therma, who was married to my Uncle Hubert, who my mother's brother was a doctor. Therma, what was her name? Last name?
Therma Bradley or Barkley?
Barkley. She was a Barkley.
Hmm.
Don't know who Barkley were. But anyway, she lived in a house similar to that at Cobb's Creek. Cobb's Creek was down on the Pianca Tank, quite a long ways away.
Mm-hmm. Northern Neck.
She experienced the same kind of a thing in a house of that age that she bought.
Hmm.
She encountered some of these people. Now, why would it be that me, for instance, was able to have this contact and be comfortable, so to speak? When I say comfortable, I'm talking about converse with people
Mm-hmm.
without any fear.
Right.
There was no fear whatsoever in my part. Talking to these people.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't seem to have a lot to say. They sort of just congregated around. They wanted to belong. I guess they were seeking a place in this world, I don't know.
Hmm.
In other words, existing, still trying to exist. And that was a thing that bothered me a little bit. Were these people trying to exist in the world that they used to live in? Is that why they contacted me?
Mm-hmm.
Is that part of the struggle that people that die have? They can't turn loose.
I don't know.
physically, of course, they have to. They do turn loose because
Right.
they're gone. But mentally, do they turn loose? That's gonna be a mystery to never be answered, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
That whether you mentally turn loose of your worldly existence of mentality or whatever you want to call it.
As it is, you just have to believe in things that are certain, but you know there are things that you do not understand.
Oh yeah, there's a lot out there that we don't know what's going on.
Well, Pat, I think the only real answer for life can be found in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
If you study it enough, you can find it and thoroughly believe in it.
I agree.
And I'm so thankful our families did come up in the church.